Hello, I'm Bishop Jim Dunlop of the Lower Susquehanna Synod, and I came today to talk a little bit about what's going on with some changes in the Synod Assembly. You know, each year we gather, and the Synod Assembly meeting is the highest authority for how we shape our mission together as the church. It's an important part of our life together. And at times there have been concerns about some of the things that we do at Assembly, and so we listen to those concerns and we take them very seriously. And part of that is then looking at some of the feedback we've gotten over the years. Some of the concerns that we've heard recently is certainly the cost of the Synod Assembly, its overall cost, and then the cost passed to the congregations in terms of renting the facility, renting the technology, the tables, the chairs, and everything. And people have been concerned that the meeting we've had is in a gymnasium setting and aesthetically is not really pleasing for worship. And plus, with our meeting starting on the first Friday or even Thursday night into the first Friday in June, it excludes many of our young people as well as their parents, because often that's the last day of school and graduations. And because we begin the meeting on a weekday, it seems to exclude a lot of people whose vocations keep them from being able to come on a Friday. We've also heard that sometimes the Synod Assembly can be a little boring. So we've made some changes this year that will allow us to address some of these very real concerns. The changes we're going to make, we're going to continue to meet at Messiah College, but we're going to be changing the venue on the campus. We're going to move the assembly to the High Center for Worship and Performing Arts. This space will seat about 770 people, and with some overflow spaces where we'll be broadcasting in, we can seat over 1,000 people for the assembly in this forum. There'll be no setup costs because all the audio and visual setups are already in this space, and we will reduce our costs by tens of thousands of dollars this year. We're also going to be moving to electronic voting this year, which means that we will streamline a lot of the processes and the things that have slowed down the meeting in the past. And this space will be beautiful for our worship as well. We're also going to be moving our schedule. Previously we had met on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, and this year we're going to meet on Friday in the evening and then all day Saturday and Sunday till midday. So the meeting of the assembly will be June 6th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And because the business won't start until Friday evening, people with vocations that have prohibited them from being voting members in the past can now be voting members to the assembly. This will allow much more participation from people of various ages and vocations, as well as our youth. In addition, the Synod Assembly has voted that congregations that have more than 500 baptized members will be able to bring an additional voting member, and we are encouraging congregations that have an extra voting member that person should be either a youth or a person of color or one whose primary language is not English, to further enhance our diversity and lay participation. All of these changes are in direct response to your feedback. We're going to reduce the cost, move to a more worshipful space, and broaden the diversity of people that can be voting members. And change always means just that there'll be some change. Because the assembly will end on Sunday morning, our rostered leaders will not be in the congregations for Sunday for worship. So meeting on Sunday isn't without precedent, though. 20 other synods in the ELCA hold their assemblies in this way. And our predecessor body, the Central Pennsylvania Synod of the LCA, did the exact same kind of setup. This will require some planning in the congregations for worship. And we have some options for both word and sacrament in that kind of arrangement. We are going to stream the assembly worship, and so if congregations want to participate in the assembly live, they can do that. But we'll also have my sermon pre-recorded on DVD and printed for the congregations if they would like to use that as their preached word on Sunday. But congregations also can use retired clergy for supply preaching and for administering the Eucharist. There is also the opportunity to have supply preachers from our full ecumenical communion partners. So this is a way in which we can recognize the gift that we have in our ecumenical relationships with our partners. And congregations are already talking about partnering with neighboring congregations for a community service as well. And having a lay person preach is a possibility. In the days of the Central Pennsylvania Synod, this Sunday was known as Laity Sunday, and lay people preached throughout our synod. Several pastors that I've spoken to most recently have said that they in fact discerned their call to ministry through this experience as preaching as a lay person. This is a great way to lift up our lay leadership in the congregations. The congregations also could choose to have a hymn sing or even a service of the Word on that Sunday. So there are lots of options to explore. But here's what I would really like people to do. One is that the worship committees and the pastors and the congregation councils need to be creative about their options for worship in the congregation on that Sunday. And I would encourage you to start those congregation conversations as soon as possible. And because we're making some of these changes to encourage a diversity of the people that attend the assembly who could not have attended previously, as you work to select voting members, I hope that you will consider a diversity of people who have not attended the Synod Assembly before. And if you're granted an extra voting member, I hope that you make a conscious effort to choose either a young adult or a person of color or someone whose English is not their primary language to really shape the diversity of our assembly. These changes really won't be effective if you do not plan and participate to meet these changes that we're asking for. As for the Synod Assembly being boring, well, last year we did a service event on the day before the assembly and fed 300,000 meals out into our community. This Friday, leading into the Synod Assembly, we'll be running a day-long educational event on faith formation with John Roberto, a leading figure in faith and family. And this will be a great educational event that will lead into the theme of our assembly, which is hungry for the Word of God. In addition, we will have the musician Rachel Kurtz come to be present at the entire assembly to lead us in music, as well as to provide a concert on Saturday night. Sunday morning, our worship will include the liturgy Lands and Seasons, led by Pastor Stephen Folcomer, who wrote that liturgy for our congregations within our synod. This is really our homegrown synod worship, and it will be a great way for us to worship as a whole synod. And so we're looking forward to that. We intend to make the assembly engaging, educational, unifying, spiritual, and fun. And as always, we'll look forward to your feedback after we have seen how these changes play out for us. Thank you for your participation, as always, in our worship together in our Synod Assembly as we come together to lead and shape this Synod. Thank you.